We're not taught that anymore.
We're not taught that. We're not taught the Constitution. We're not taught, even more importantly, the Declaration of Independence, what that said. I mean, now I'm looking at one teacher that who does that. But I mean, that is the genius, those documents of this great country. And as the Tocqueville said, when you put that together with America's people, which he saw as the greatness of America, it's good people. We let that go. I don't care what safety nets or hammocks we put up, we're in trouble. Oh, time. One more question. Thanks, Ken. We reserve buildings, and I just talk forever, and then...
There, right here, this lady's waiting.
Yes.
I guess I had a question. What really are earmarks?
Earmarks, that's one of the titles used. It's legislative directive funding. It's for a legislator in my district. Spring Arbor University says we would like to capitalize on some of the dollars going from the state of Michigan and more specifically from our taxpayers for higher education in the area of international trade. There's a fund there for that. So we will ask you as a member of Congress to represent us in getting some funds from that pot of gold in Washington that's set apart for this type of
How does
thing.
it differ from pork?
It's the same thing. It's just the eye of the beholder. Spelled different. Now, there are differences too. The bridge to nowhere. The entire United States population except for 15 people. However many. But the majority of people in the United States would say that bridge to nowhere was pork. Two Republican members of Congress, the U.S. Senate and Congress, offered that pork for 50 people to cross over this bridge. Catch a can. We all said, that's nuts. Why should we pay for that? Another legislative directed earmark was for public safety communication systems for the city of Jackson. Dollars of taxpayers had taken from them for those purposes. Now, most people would say, if it's to have communication radios and systems for law enforcement versus a bridge to nowhere, one certainly would be considered pork with a great smell to it, and the other would be considered a necessity by many people. Those of us who are true conservatives will say, well, as long as it's there, yeah. If our fuel dollars, our aviation fuel dollars go to Washington, and now we've got to bring them back for airport runway projects, I'm going to try to get as much of my dollar sent as possible. But a true conservative says, let's not send it to Washington in the first place.
Right.
Right.
Let's keep it back at the state, and even more importantly, at the local level, up to and including the taxpayer themselves in their own wallet. So then they can say, when a special election for millage for police radios comes up, yeah, I've got money to support that. That's going to help my Jackson County Sheriff's Department. I'm for that. I like a 911 system that works well. I like to have all the police in Jackson County be able to communicate with all the police in Jackson County. Yeah, I can support that. But if we got to fight for it, your legislator has to go to Washington and say, I need this. Oh man, then there's all sorts of trade-offs that can happen. And I think that's why all the Republicans in the Republican Study Committee, and I believe almost all Republicans in the House now, have signed a commitment to a moratorium on pork, on earmark. I've made it very clear that I will not offer an earmark. I think Ron Paul has made that commitment too now. You know, he was one of the largest earmarkers in Congress. Most people wouldn't expect that, would you? And he told me, he says, you know, Tim, I understand what you're saying there. You're surprised, but hey, my Texans sent that money in. I'm going to try to get $1 back for $1 we sent. Doesn't mean I'm going to vote for the budget, which I respected him. He didn't vote for the budgets that was in, but he offered 65 earmarks my first term in Congress. That's, I guess, the last question. I'll hang around a little bit here. It's just come from a place tonight. I felt like we should go longer. But